Hi folks, this is All the Fruit, and today I have here a couple German heritage almonds which I want to compare with the almond which is grown nowadays in Germany in 99% of all cases, and also with some really strange looking almond I got from a Persian shop. Well, I wanted to do this video as soon as I saw those strange almonds at the Persian shop, but I decided it's gonna be more interesting when I also try to find some almost forgotten German stuff. Because while the almonds, they come from the area of like Persia, Afghanistan, before Persia and Afghanistan existed, like in the 4th to 5th millennium, basically 3rd millennium BC, like 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. They were domesticated there, and the sweet almonds were bred from the bitter almonds. But in Germany, almonds were brought by the Romans about 2,000 years ago. And since then, Germany actually had sizable almond production, what very few people know. Also stuff like almond milk, you might think it's an invention of modern hipsters. No, almond milk was totally a very common thing in the Middle Ages. Well, where animals would usually produce milk very seasonally and in small amounts, while almonds, dried almonds, you could store them and make almond milk whenever you want. So almonds were very popular in the Holy Roman Empire, which is the medieval name for Germany and basically all of Central Europe. And most of the almonds were actually not imported, but produced in the area of the Vorderpfalz. This is where I got those things from. Well, I got those from the Mannheim Farmers Market. It said Pfälzer Mandeln. I asked where they are from. They said from Freinsheim, which is not very far away from where we foraged those here. Those here we foraged in the small town of Kallstadt. Actually, probably less than 100 meters away from Donald Trump's grandfather's ancestral house, and maybe 120 meters away from Donald Trump's grandmother's ancestral house. How did this happen? We went to Kallstadt to take a video about foraging in Donald Trump's ancestral village, and after that we went to rediscover an ancient abandoned almond plantation, which probably the trees didn't date from the time of the Holy Roman Empire, but were still quite old. So first, quite unexpectedly, next to Trump's, near Trump's house, like one little lane or two little lanes away from it, we found an old almond tree, which was very rare occurrence. One of the last almond trees that still produced those almonds. I'll come to the different almonds a little bit later. And under this old tree we managed to find a couple almonds that had fallen to the ground. Next, right outside of the village, we found an ancient peach almond, probably still from the time where the no-no Germans and the guy with the mustache actually created the first German tourist route, the Deutsche Weinstraße, and planted those peach almonds next to them. After that, we managed to go into the area with the abandoned almond plantation. Actually, nobody believed me 30 years ago when I said, I see it clearly that there, in this shrubbery, in this inaccessible thicket on this slope, there are at least 6 overgrown almond trees. They said, no, how can you see this? This is impossible. This is something else. It's either peach almonds or peaches or cherries, or you're telling stuff. Nope. I insisted throughout the 1990s that there is an abandoned almond grove in this overgrown, back then inaccessible slope, overgrown with brambles and spiny shrubs. And yes, 2 days ago we actually managed to go there and confirm the existence of the old plantation or orchard. It wasn't a commercial plantation, more like a orchard for where some people grew fruits and nuts and grapes and stuff. Now it's a goat pasture, and we actually even managed to find the shells of such almonds there. However, the seeds were all eaten by the wild boars, so the ground was littered with broken up shells, and we could confirm that they are this type and not that type. So, success, big success on this day. We robbed Trump's village and found not on one occasion but on 3 occasions ancient almond trees in the area. So now about the different varieties here. I don't know what those varieties are. Those are both grown here in Germany. I think this should be the traditional Dürkheimer Krachmandel, which is a traditional German almond variety. I haven't seen this type in Germany before, to be honest. They are more elongated and slender. They look a lot more like some oriental varieties I've seen. I also don't know what this variety is, but it's a Persian variety with incredibly thin shell. We'll come to the shells. And this here is the peach almond. A peach almond hybrid, which is used as rootstock for almonds in the Mediterranean because it's very hardy to frost, to drought, to neglect, and so on. Here in Germany, at some time they decided to replace this with this because the local almond production basically lost significance. Like rich people, they don't like to collect almonds anymore. They can buy them from Southern Europe where they are cheaper. But also this, remember when the guy with the mustache and the no Germans, they introduced this holiday route, this holiday street through Germany, the Deutsche Weinstraße. And since then, this area is trying to pretend to be as Mediterranean as possible, and that includes planting almond trees. This thing is hardier than this, needs less care. It's more frost hardy, and it flowers earlier with bigger and more flowers, and the flowers are a darker pink. On the downside, the shell is incredibly thick. The green rind outside, because it's a peach hybrid, is still quite juicy, almost like a really bad quality vineyard peach, so it makes a bigger mess than this. And because it's not intended for human consumption, usually the seeds will be sweet, but sometimes they will be bitter, and bitter in rosacea seeds means cyanide. So if you have bitter almond seeds, if you bite on a bitter almond seed, spit it out and don't eat anymore from that batch. Now let's try those different ones. First, let's start with the Persian almond. I think this was bred for the specific purpose to be opened like this, without the tool. That's for the tools, yeah. Taste-wise, it tastes like dry bread. Sorry. There is still some almond taste, but if you if you had blindfolded me, I might have said that. Also, it's very small, to be honest. I'm not doing this on purpose. If you had blindfolded me, I might have recognized it as a nut, but I might also have thought that this is a piece of dried bread you are giving me. Now, this German one we got from the market. Never open stuff like this, folks. It's bad for your teeth. Yeah, this has almond flavor. This tastes like an almond. Now the ones we foraged from the old tree, not next, but near Donald Trump's grandfather's house, Friedrich Trump, which renamed himself to Frederick Trump. Never do this. Yeah, especially since this one is rotten. Ow. Did I mention to never do this? Big seeds. Sweeter, but the typical almond flavor was stronger in those here. And now this, not even gonna try to break it between my teeth. That's why I have all this heavy equipment here. We're gonna use the hatchet as the anvil and the hammer as the hammer, because those shells of this ornamental slash rootstock thing, they are not really much thicker than those, but they're incredibly hard. If you see this, I can scratch myself with it. If I would press a little bit harder, I could cut through my skin with it. It's incredibly hard, tough, and sharp. Stepping on those things is a pain. Now let's try this. The seed is smaller in this case, but they can be bigger. I can totally taste cyanide in here. And cyanide is a deadly poison. It's not really bitter. The seed is not really bitter, but the cyanide flavor is totally there. Meaning that basically, yeah, consuming those, they are not very bitter. So if I would consume, well, from a handful, I'm not gonna die because I'm an adult. A little child could die from a handful of those. But eating a lot of those can be a problem because they still have a low cyanide content. And sometimes they are really bitter, meaning they have a higher cyanide content. Sometimes they are not bitter at all. Remember, this is not being bred to be eaten in itself. It's bred as a rootstock, so the cyanide content of the seeds is not really monitored. So yeah, folks, those were, I would say, 4 very unusual almonds. An old heritage almond from an overgrown, from an orchard which was completely overgrown over 30 years ago, which we finally confirmed nowadays. No, wait, those were from the ancient tree in the village of Trump's grandfather in the orchard. The pigs ate them. Those are some modern almonds grown here in Germany. Those are some really strange but very soft almonds grown somewhere in Iran. And this is the peach almond, the rootstock slash ornamental. Tell me if you have unusual almonds in your area. I think especially our friend from Romania is gonna have something to say. He's a great almond grower, but I would like input from all of you. Apart from that, stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from rediscovered ancient abandoned orchards. By the way, the video how we find those 3 occasions, those 3 instances of ancient almond trees here in Germany is gonna go online soon. And of course, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, but only with nice comments, okay?